Out of the gate, JT, noon, straight up Pacific, 3 o'clock Eastern. That's evening drive for some back east, and we're back east. We are the global Raider Nation hub, and we do sports talk radio 30 years now, uninterrupted. Thanks for joining us today as we get rolling on a big day. Man, we lined up a massive show. Great guests, 3 of them today. I defied anybody to find 3 better guests than this. If you live in Vegas, if you're a Golden Knight fan or a Raiders fan, or you just love sports, VInny Bonsignore, our Raiders insider and teammate. He jumped in for me a few days last week when I was in Kihei, Maui, swimming with the turtles. Sam Warren, who I haven't spoke to yet from The Athetic, putting out incredible content. We'll talk to him. And then Gary Lawless, the premier hockey analyst, I believe, in the world. He's going to join us as the Vegas Golden Knights advance to the Stanley Cup. Congratulations to our partners, VGK, as they advance to the Stanley Cup. What a story, what a moment, and that's the focus of the monologue, brought to you by the fighting spirit of Modelo. A lot of Modelos went down there last night. A lot of people celebrating throughout Vegas, throughout this great community, and all around the hockey world as the Vegas Golden Knights do something that every team dreams of. Most teams never do it. They can't get there. They can't win the cup. They can't get to the cup. And this will be the 3rd trip for the Vegas Golden Knights to the Stanley Cup in 9 years. Ask Toronto what that feels like. Ask our buddies, the Sharks, how that feels. Ask Vancouver how that feels. And some of the other cities that have great hockey teams around the country here. We're waiting on the winner of Carolina and Montreal. They'll play tonight. I hope Montreal wins. I'd like to see Montreal win and come out of that side so we could have a little bit of cross-border action with Canada and the United States. But Carolina looks to be the better team. So what I've been trying to do here, and I do it at a very aggressive pace, is try to get people to talk hockey at 3 o'clock Eastern and noon Pacific and just drum it up. Just drum it up. Am I a hype guy? You better believe I'm a hype guy. I'm a hype guy that knows sports. But, I like analytics. I like numbers, if you've been listening to me. But I like to hype people up and motivate people to enjoy life. I believe that sports can change your life. I believe that you can get people together like I'm trying to do on YouTube. We should have 30,000 followers on YouTube every day. Problem is, I just simulcast this show 2 hours a day. Other people do 6 hours. They do it separate. I put this show up there, and I'd like to see more people in here on YouTube at JT the Brick. It's free. You just subscribe for free. You get everything. My son put out 5 videos yesterday of me losing my mind. That's free. You get all that content. You get the JT and Looney podcast. You get so much more. I'm live on YouTube with many people in the chat. Get on in here and chat it up on YouTube at JT the Brick. And if you'd like to call in, again, someday I will come in here and all 9 lines will be full. And I will stop the show and I will quit. I'm dead serious. I'll retire. I can do this now. I don't want to for a long time. I'll say I accomplished everything. And I won't have to give out this freaking phone number every day. People will have it on speed dial. They'll have it. They'll know it by heart. And they'll say, oh, JT's coming up at noon. I want to sound off like I got a pair. I want to talk sports. I got an opinion that might be different than his, better than his, and it'll add to the show. That's what I do here every day. Nothing more, nothing less. We are a portal for sports fans who have opinions and like to talk sports. We don't do entertainment. We don't do cheeseburgers. We don't tell you what we did for 2 hours. What did I mention? I went to Maui for 10 seconds. That's about it. I get off topic and I focus on sports because you only have a certain amount of time with me. You might be in the car for 3 minutes. 3 minutes. You might be listening tomorrow on a podcast. I don't waste your time. And I like you not to waste my time. Everybody who listens, we thank you. The people who call in, we thank you. No one can really call in this day and age. But if you can, get in here and enhance the show. Be reckless. Be funny. Be intense. But talk sports because it's a dying breed. I promise you that sports radio is coming to an end. I don't know when it is. It's been vibrant for 30 years. It provided me an unbelievable life for my sons who went to college and my wife and my family and friends. An incredible life it's provided for me. Sports talk radio will not be around. Down the road, it'll be in a different format that's going to suck. Now you're in the middle of sports radio. It's still alive. It still matters. It's still Clay on AM radio. It's still on FM radio. You can listen in the car. I promise you, Clay, 10 years from now, it will be gone in some manner of this form, and you'll be listening to it on some chat GBT, or some type of phone app, and it will not be what we were able to do for over 25, 30 years with passion and energy.
Well, you'll be questioning what is live and what is not, and then you'll come to a realization that none of it's live.
Great point. Clay Baker dropping bombs today. No, you're right about that.
And that makes a big difference in how things are presented.
Yeah, I've always tried to talk about sports radio as a weapon, right? It's a weapon. You can come in here and use it for whatever you want with me, at least. But it's not going to exist. It's not going to be here. It'll be here as a business model, and we'll always have sports radio, but it won't be the way it was. And I'm not a big get-off-my-lawn guy. I'm not. I'm just trying to tell you what's happening. I give you good information. And sports radio in the 80s was okay. In the 90s, it got really good. In the 2000s, it became syndicated, right? You had your national shows. You had your local shows, but then the national shows got really big. And that's lasted for about 25 or 30 years. How many national shows are left that you like? How many national shows do you listen to that don't have 7 or 8 guys interrupting the host and a bunch of people who shouldn't be on the air jabbering about something? I mean, that didn't exist 15, 20 years ago. I can promise you that. That didn't exist. Now what we're trying to do is save the format by giving people an adrenaline rush every day when it's live. You made a great point. Live radio compared to this podcast stuff and this on delay, and everybody's got a stream, which is great. How many people left have live radio shows? I'm blessed. I got 2 that you can have live radio where anything can happen in 5 minutes. You don't know what's going to happen.
And your ability to connect with people right away, simultaneously, when events happen. That's the essence of it, and that will all be lost. And I think something along the way is you're going to find other ways to connect with people, but it will never be the same.
It will never be the same. It will never be the same. Hey, late night talk shows are a disaster now. Remember that? I get off the lawn because I said that Johnny Carson was a lot smarter and funnier than Stephen Colbert. That's not get off my lawn. That's fact, not fiction. A lot of the shows that you watch. So probably the one thing I'll say, Clay, that we're living in the golden age of television because of Netflix. And the amount of shows that I was able to watch and the amount of choices I have when my night ends. Like last night, my show ended at 11 o'clock at night. And I was like, I'm going to go watch something on Netflix. Or, no, I want to watch this new Ghost War Jack Ryan on Amazon Prime. No, I want to go into my library and watch that. I mean, we got great television right now. You have to admit that.
Yeah, there was stuff that was never even available for us way back when, but you can find it on certain streaming platforms where I've always wanted to watch Martin and Lewis's TV show from the 50s. Mm-hmm. Well, that's now available. I don't have to go to YouTube to find some grainy footage. There's actually somebody who's remastered them. So there's little things like that to go a long way that was never there before.
And movies don't exist anymore. Movies. I went to the movies with my wife about 3 weeks ago when we went in and we got a popcorn and got water. And we went into our theater and there was nobody there. There wasn't even another couple. Now, it was at 4 p.m, but we went in there, and I'm like, oh, my God, this is a movie. It's a really big movie. We want to see it in the movies, and no one's in the movie theater. That changed pretty quickly, didn't it?
I had explained to my 14-year-old son what a summer blockbuster used to mean. It didn't have to be the greatest movie, but it was just a way to escape in the theater during the summer. Yes. And there used to be like 10 of those every year. Now you maybe get 1 or 2. And what I miss is that when you go inside there and you have a movie experience where people are all laughing together or getting scared together or cheering together, that's something we're also missing, too. And as hard as theaters are trying to keep it going, nothing is really bringing it back because people are rather sitting on their couch than going to the theater.
A lot of things have disappeared in the last 10 or 20 years, man. A lot of things that we were accustomed to that we don't have anymore, but we're very lucky. We're very fortunate. I'm very blessed that we have Lotus Broadcasting, and we have so many ways to stream this show every day and all these proud partners that support us and really believe in what we do here every day. So let's get going. Again, Sam Warren, he's going to join us at the bottom of the hour. My first time interviewing him. He seems really good with his Raider content. You know, we put the best of the legitimate the legitimate Raider insiders. I'm reaching out to Wasted Talent tomorrow, all the people that we have. So I wasn't planning on doing a lot of Raiders today, but Sam agreed to come on, and Vinny comes on Wednesday. So we're going to get you all the Raider coverage you want, and then Gary Lawless at the top of the hour. So let's begin with the Golden Knights and what this means. Well, it means what I tell you all the time. We get 2 more weeks of hockey. We get 2 more weeks of sports bars, casinos, day clubs, going out with our friends to watch hockey, going outside to a sports bar, having backyard barbecues with the Stanley Cup. Oh, my God. How many times can you imagine that in your entire life? In your entire life. There might be 5 times in your life, if you live to your 80s, that your hockey team might get to the Stanley Cup final, and in the month of June, you could be hanging out with your parents, your family, your kids and friends, and we are in that window right now. Don't take it for granted. Get out there and enjoy it and have a lot of fun. Have a lot of fun. There's no excuse not to get in. Now, Vegas, some people are saying Vegas is a bandwagon town. Fair. I've lived here since 1996 on and off. It's fair to say that Vegas in hockey is a bit of a bandwagon town because we're new. It's an inaugural expansion team 9 years ago. So a lot of people started going to the Fortress, and they didn't know anything about hockey. They didn't know what icing was. They thought that was something you put on a cake. They have no idea what a 2-line pass is. They don't know hockey, and it took them a while. And some fans are just not as diehard as they are in Boston, Philadelphia, New York, Chicago. We get it. But we know how to have a good time here, what winning is. And I think everybody's starting to realize that this is a really good hockey team led by Bill Foley, who wants to win. The big takeaway, and I say this about Mark Davis, every day Mark Davis wakes up, he wants to win the Super Bowl. He hasn't been winning the Super Bowl. I don't know how you can question him. Now, you can criticize his mistakes. There's been a lot of mistakes in regards to personnel, coaches, players, absolutely. But he's put all his money into this. I even have people from time to time say, well, Mark doesn't have the money of who? Stan Kroenke? Who cares? Who cares? I don't have the money of maybe right now Dan Patrick. Who cares? Who cares? What, do you care if you're richer than the next guy or the owner of a team is richer? Mark takes all his money and he puts it into the Raiders. Still walks around with blue jeans and sneakers and puts all his money into the Raiders. He wants to win. Now, the organization that Mr. Foley has, he's got a bunch of different business projects, and he's run it really well. And he puts all of his passion into this hockey team. And he just tells the people who run the team, make sure we're always getting better. Make sure that if any free agent is available or someone's available in a trade, go get the player and go do it. And if you don't, you might not be here. How cool is that if you're a fan of an owner like that, who's just saying, I'm getting out of the way, but let me make it clear. If we don't win, we're making changes. And players are not going to be here long term. We're here to win. That's what we're witnessing. And it is freaking out the NHL world. They are losing their bleeping minds. That Bill Foley, who bought this team and decided that every year we're going to compete for the cup, other teams are like, well, that's not fair. What's he doing? Well, he's just wheeling and dealing. George McPhee and Kelly McCrimmon, they're being told, anybody who's available, you go get them. Anybody we need to trade, you trade them and upgrade the team. That's the story. That's what you tell people in the sports bar. Or you see someone with an Edmonton jersey, or they're sitting there with a Dallas jersey. You say, well, what's different with Vegas? I don't know. The owner wants to win more than your owner. That's the story. And that's what's been happening. We'll talk about that with Gary Lawless coming up at the top of the hour. I'll tell you, Mark Stone coming back. And look, Mark Stone is gone from time to time, and I ask, where's Stone? Like, why isn't he playing? Oh, he's down so we can go get another great player? But then we have to let someone go to the Silver Knights. So, look, I don't claim to know how the hockey cap works perfectly, but when Mark Stone comes back, this guy tends to be in the right place at the right time when the team needs him.
Taken by the Knights. Theodore to McNabb, who lifts it ahead. Stone behind everybody. In the clear. Forehand. He scores! Mark Stone has the first Golden Knights first period goal of the series. 1-0 Knights, 5 minutes into the game. Here in Western Conference Final, game number 4.
Dan Duva on all these calls. What the hell was that? The puck's flipped up. Stone catches it, puts it down. He's on a breakaway, little head fake shuffle, and he scores. I mean, that was pretty impressive. And then a lot of, I don't want to say no names, but they're not the stars of this team, have really stepped up along the way. Smith comes through to give Vegas a 2-0 lead.
Attempt to redirect it on goal by Dowd, but Kulak defended him well. Dowd gets it up top. Coughlin, score!
Wow, that 2-0 lead mattered. So I'm sitting there watching the game. A couple of my friends are busting my chops because I'm not at the game and I'm doing a show. Sorry, I'd like to work. I was doing the show. Didn't call in sick, never do. And I should have been there. If it was tonight, I would be there tonight. Golden Knights are like, when you come and come, they've been great to me. So I was watching the game, and my buddies were all there boozed up, having the time of their life watching this game. You knew that Landeskog and Colorado would come back because they were swarming. In that third period, it was only a matter of time until they got on the board.
Blackwood on the bench and a rebound shot. Score! Deflected in front. And Colorado has its first goal of Game 4 with 2:03 remaining.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting because I knew they were going to score. I couldn't tell you when, but it was obvious they were going to score. They were just swarming. It felt like they were on the power play at even strength. They pulled the goalie, and Vegas is holding on for dear life. But, man, Vegas, when they were a man down because Colorado pulled the goalie, they cleared the puck beautifully. They made great decisions. They blocked pucks. They were fantastic. Final call as the Vegas Golden Knights win the West.
Makar has the puck with 9 seconds. Colorado can't get it in at center ice. Eichel banks it in. This one will go to the final seconds, and this one is a home ice clincher. For the first time in franchise history, the Knights clinch the Western Conference at T-Mobile Arena. For the third time in 9 years, they're going to the Stanley Cup Final.
So that's about as big as it gets in sports. Dan Duva on the call. Great job. Again, Gary Lawless at the top of the hour. Everybody should be celebrating this in Vegas, as I've been telling you, and I've been nailing this for over a month. What have I said for over a month, if not longer? We are an Olympic all-star team. And I woke up this morning, and a lot of people were in shock that Vegas beat Colorado. And I put out the tweet. No one should be in shock. Vegas is better than Colorado. They have better players. We have an all-star team. Colorado's got all-stars. We're deeper. Our fourth line's better than their fourth line. Our goalie's better than their goalie. We got Eichel. We have Stone. They have McKinnon. They have good players. Our players are deeper and better. So the only shock to anybody should have been the fact that Vegas swept Colorado. Not that Vegas beat Colorado. Are you kidding me? And the Snuffleupagus, we beat Utah, the little Snuffleupagus, and shocked that we beat Anaheim? Come on. We beat the President's Trophy winner in impressive fashion. So great to see this. Some of the reaction coming in. First off, Kevin Weeks, who was there and obviously covers this team, has been a part of the play-by-play television group and some of the studio analyst works. Here's Kevin Weeks of ESPN summing it up.
My number one takeaway from that team is balance. That's a balanced team. The Vegas Golden Knights can give it to you any way you want it. You want it physical in the trenches? They got it. Lockdown team defense, league leaders in points, goals, assists, and Carter Hart's been dirty in the net. So you put all that together, that's some nice alchemy for them right now.
John Tortorella, as we mentioned, takes over on March 30th, and now they're in the Cup final. How did this happen?
I played for Torts. You know what Torts says to his team? Fellas, safe as death. We just can't sit back. Give Bruce Cassidy credit for installing their defensive scheme. Yes, but now under Torts, they have the balance between team defense, offense, and belief. They don't play games. I told Will Bond this earlier. They don't play games. They dictate them. They're dictating the terms of the games right now. It's impressive.
That's really an impressive soundbite. So here's what's difficult as a sports fan to watch. The Vegas Golden Knights fired Bruce Cassidy, who was a very good coach, and he's taken the high road. He's not allowed to go on interviews. Edmonton wants to hire him right now to have the greatest player in the world play for them. And if Bruce Cassidy goes to Edmonton, pencil Edmonton in the Western Conference Finals. Pencil them in. because he's going to get more out of that team with Draisaitl and McDavid if he gets that job. But that's a business decision that the Vegas Golden Knights control because of the contract status. But here's John Tortorella, who came in with only 8 games remaining, and I did not like it at that time. Not that I didn't like Tortorella. I think that's a really good coach. But I'm not a big believer in firing the coach with 8 games to go. It was clearly the right decision as Tortorella came in and pressed all the right buttons.
How did you activate this team to get...
This team activated themselves. Let's get that straight. The coaches, our job is to get rid of the obstacles in front of them so they can play. But this team activated itself. It's a group that just understands. I don't know how many they've won. They know what it takes, and we're just kind of guidance counselors. That's the way I look at us as coaches sometimes, especially with this group. When we need to bring them back in and put them on the tracks the right way, we'll nudge them there and try to get them there. But they're the ones that play, and they're the ones that handle the situations. And we got a damn good group here doing that.
Yeah, that's an amazing soundbite, Clay Baker. He basically, I watched that entire press conference. It was about 7.5 and 8 minutes. And if we didn't have all the guests we had today, I'd play it. I'd play the whole thing because it was brilliant. And they were asking him, and Ed Graney, the great sports writer of the year, everybody was in that room. What about you, Torts? What did you do? It's not about me. Forget, he wasn't even in the room celebrating. He says, I'm not in that room. It's for the players. Every time he was asked, Clay, about his role, he said, nothing. If they needed to be nudged, I'll nudge them. But that's a good group, and he just let them play.
Then it understates how much the good nudging really is.
Yeah.
Because he's motivating them and inspiring them to get them back on the track. And he says, you got to do that more with this team than any other. But that shows you that they've already been sound fundamentally. They know how to win, and they got their own scheme. They just needed another push of the button to let them know that you are better than who you're playing against. Now go do it.
The problem is here, right? This is a lot of success. The problem is this is going to become the norm. The norm is going to be fire the coach with 8 games left because Vegas did it and it worked. That's the problem. So as I always said, and I heard this early in my career, hockey coaches don't buy homes, they rent them. They rent homes, really nice homes, because they're going to get fired, even if they go to the Stanley Cup. They're going to get fired here, and John Tortorella is not the type of coach that you have around for 2-3 years. Now you bring him back next year, but you don't bring him around a lot of these coaches for a number of years because they wear on the players, and the players eventually don't like it. You know, I tweeted this out earlier today. There's a lot of people who are scratching their head. What's going on with the Golden Knights? How could they be so good? And this was a wise-ass comment. I tend to be more of a wise-ass on Twitter than I am behind a microphone. And it's simply this. The Golden Knights players live in the hills of Summerlin, in the Ridges or the Summit or Red Rock. They pay no state taxes, and their commute from the top of the Ridges to their practice facility, remember, their headquarters is where they live, is less than 5 minutes. You could come out of the gates of the Ridges, the gates of the Summit, the gates of Red Rock, and be at work. Ready for this? In 5 minutes. You don't think hockey players want to play in a private enclave that has multiple golf courses, live next to downtown Summerlin with their wives and kids, live in mansions that overlook the city of Vegas, and pay no state taxes? Let that sink in. That's why we're really good. So some wise ass said to me, well, how come the Raiders aren't that good? Fair question. You know, Devontae lives up there still. Devontae doesn't live in L.A., lives there. And, you know, I always said when I got here, man, one of the strengths of the Raiders was going to be recruiting players to play and pay no state taxes and live in Southern Highlands or live in Summerlin on golf courses and live in mansions in great weather, and it hasn't worked for the Raiders yet. Hasn't. Because they've had personnel problems. They fired every GM. They seem to have it right now back on track where it needs to be. It's not a secret. Hockey players and basketball players want to go play where the palm trees are. They want to go play where the nightclubs and the steakhouses are, where they can play golf and it doesn't rain and it's not cold and it's not brutal every day. They want to live in a life of luxury, and people get to do that in Las Vegas. Yeah, it gets kind of hot. It gets kind of hot in July and August, and you know what happens? Hockey's over, and all these guys go back to Manitoba, or they go back to Quebec, they go back to Canada, and they live on a lake with a bunch of boats, and they play golf, and then they come back here again. It is not hard to see why the Vegas Golden Knights are that good. Just finished 25 minutes, no hockey fans on hold. Wow. How could that be? We're going to the Stanley Cup. I'm still starting from scratch every day. 702-365-9200. I wait around all day. My wife literally kicked me out of the house today. And she said, get out of here. You're pacing. I said, I got to get to work. Waiting on everybody to talk hockey. We're going to the Stanley Cup. Holy crap. Am I the only guy on the radio at noon? I think I am. I think I am the only guy on the radio at noon talking hockey in a city that's going to the Stanley Cup. I don't know. I'm just gonna continue to have fun and still pound away at the fact that we're going to the Stanley Cup. 702-365-9200. We'll dive into the Raiders coming up next with Sam Warren. He just came over from The Athletic. He has a new perspective of the Raiders. Clint Kubiak, Fernando Mendoza. I'll go over some of the parts that I'm interested in the depth chart, and we'll figure that out and what the Raiders need to do here. It's all quiet on the Raiders front. I kind of say that every year. The big difference for me, personally, with the Raiders this year compared to Pete Carroll, well, and I love Pete Carroll. Don't like him, love him. He was great to me, right? Gentleman. How can you not like Pete Carroll? He didn't win. You don't hate him. How dare you? You just say, hey, coach, it didn't work. All the best. But last year with the Raiders, they were running around in bouncy houses. They were in big bubble things, and they were jumping around, and everyone was pretending to be a wrestler, and everybody was shooting baskets. No more. No more toys. No more toys. No more jump shots. No more. This is really serious football from Clint Kubiak. Pete Carroll's system worked tremendously well in Seattle. Competition Tuesday. Everything that he did worked really well a Thursday. It didn't work here. He didn't have the players. He didn't bring in the players that he chose, that he liked. It didn't work. Clint Kubiak saying, John Spytek, you go do the grocery shopping. I want my opinion. Here's my opinion. Get me better players. And John Spytek got Clint Kubiak much better players. So I'll talk about that with Sam Warren coming up next as we continue. Brought to you by the DeCastroverde Law Group. Oh, those DeCastroverde brothers, the brothers win. They go to hockey games. Oh, man, they're there. They love this Golden Knight team. And they love what the Raiders are doing. They're embedded in our community. The DeCastroverde Law Group, proud partner of our show, as we welcome the Vegas Golden Knights and their fans to the Stanley Cup Finals.
He's a football robot from heaven. You know, he's a Cadillac out there. We got to get the most out of Brock. You know, wherever he goes, he's been successful in college and high school, whoever's coached him. You know, just can't say enough great things about him. Love his work ethic. He's a standard bearer.
That's Clint Kubiak. JT back with you, brought to you by the M Resort Spa and Casino. 2 towers are better than 1. Was texting with Charles Woodson. Unbelievable turnout for his Woodson Bourbon Whiskey event. They're proud partners of the show. Thanks to everybody at the Raider Nation who supports Woodson Bourbon Whiskey and Charles Woodson, who's in town, which is great. Sam Warren, kind enough to join us. He covers the Raiders for The Athletic. You've heard him multiple times here. First time with me on Raider Nation Radio. Sam, congratulations on everything in advance, and welcome to our show. And tell us your backstory, how you came to this position with The Athletic, and what's this been like for you in the short term?
Thanks, JC. Great to meet you. Happy to be on the show, and I appreciate you having me on. So I'm coming here from Houston, where I was covering the Texans for the past 2 years for the Houston Chronicle, and then I've bounced around a couple of different places since I played football at Syracuse from 2019 to 2023. So have some background in the sport, and am excited to be on the Raiders beat, and it's been a really awesome couple of months so far. just with all the exciting things going on with this team and the regime change and all the exciting players that are, now on this roster. So it's been a great time so far.
Well, on a quick personal note, I went to Geneseo State University, and many of my rugby, I played rugby there, and we went into Syracuse a lot. I drank fish bowls, and I partied in the Cuse, and I've been to the Dome multiple times there. Older than you, but I was there for the Ewing and the Cycli and the Pearl Washington era, and that's so great. So from a Syracuse football player to cover in the NFL, especially Houston, that's had a lot of success. What is your style of journalism in covering a team? What do you like to do to get in the locker room, to cover the team, analytics, numbers? What's your style?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have some background knowing the game with my playing background and diving into some analytics and some X's and O's type things. But I really like just kind of getting to know the guys, getting to know the people in the building, really giving the backstory to the players behind, their actions on the field and everything like that. So looking forward to, this summer getting to know a lot more people, then in the fall getting into the locker room, getting to know the guys a little bit more. And, yeah, it seems like there's a lot of fun characters on this team, a lot of good guys to get to know. So excited to be here.
Yeah, really excited for your coverage. So what did you take away so far from OTAs? The big story is Mendoza and Cousins and Kubiak. So Kubiak knows that Cousins knows his playbook as good as anybody, maybe even Sam Darnold, who won a Super Bowl, and Cousins should have the lead. But a lot of Raider Nation and a lot of the fans want to see Mendoza play, especially season ticket holders. And Tom Brady's philosophy has been, if you're not ready in the beginning, let's watch and sit back. And you know that Tom Brady has a lot to say with this. So covering the team now, what are you seeing with that three-headed monster of the coach, Cousins, and Mendoza, and how this could play out?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an early stage of the quarterback competition. Just seeing OTAs last week, it's very clear that they're taking, a measured approach to Mendoza's development. He was mostly working out on a side field with kind of the rookies during individual drills when they were all kind of bringing the teams together in units and mostly working with the rookie group during team periods. So they're still trying to develop him and bring him along slowly. I think it's a good process for them, though, because, you have like you said, an experienced quarterback in Kubiak's system, in Kirk Cousins, who's running with the first team right now. And they're really able to see how this offense is getting implemented with a guy who has that experience. And, they can pick up things that are working, things that are sinking in with the team, with him at the helm, and then also see how kind of the rookies are coming along, how Mendoza is developing with those kind of developing player groups. So I think it's definitely too early to say, where the guys kind of stack up in this quarterback competition. But I think they are taking the right approach into, you have a veteran who can run the offense, and you can see with him and the other veteran guys how this thing is kind of rolling, how it's sinking in for a lot of the guys. And then with the rookie group, see how those guys are developing, taking a little bit more of a, hands-on approach with those guys to bring them along a little bit more.
Sam Warren is our guest from the Athletic. So covering the NFL and, Houston before you came here in the AFC, you look at the old look Raiders and the struggles that they had only winning 3 games. Sam, my perspective is, they brought in at least 7 new starters. When you see Quay Walker and Nakobe Dean and Tyler Linderbaum and all the additions of Jalen Naylor and what they've done on the defensive side, what has impressed you now being around this team, looking at the new faces that are coming in before the draft and now how they were able to complement the roster that they already had, maybe adding 2 or 3 new starters via the draft? It looks like there could be anywhere from 8 to 10 upgraded new starters on this team going into camp.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, just coming from Houston and having that background, I think that team, with what they were able to do with CJ Stroud and kind of expedite their rebuild, going from a team with a top, 2 pick, picking a franchise quarterback, and then going to the playoffs in his first 3 seasons. Like, I feel like that's kind of a blueprint that teams are trying to follow. And you can see that with this Raiders team with, building around Fernando Mendoza. Obviously, you have Kirk Cousins in the building, so it's not like you're going to have to play Fernando right away like CJ Stroud did if you don't want to. But, having, instead of, playing the rookie quarterback, having him, kind of struggle to start and be on this rebuilding team that doesn't have a whole ton of expectations around it. Now you're kind of expediting it with all these, signings that they've made, spending big in free agency, also grabbing some kind of premium additions in the draft. I think it's really impressive what they've done. I think they've definitely been one of the winners of the offseason with the kind of coup that they had with Tyler Linderbaum and bringing him here, getting Max Crosby back, as kind of an addition that never really left. But, it's definitely impressive what they've done in going from a team that, won 3 games last year to all of a sudden having a little bit more excitement around this team.
Sam Warren's kind enough to join us here on the flagship of the Raiders. He's from The Athletic, covering the Raiders. So if you look at this offensive line, that was the biggest problem last year. They couldn't block anybody. They were whiffing on players right in front of them. They couldn't run it. They couldn't protect Geno. Ashton Genty was getting hammered 3 yards deep on almost every attempted rush. So if you look at what they are trying to do here, your analysis of the upgrade of the offensive line and what this depth chart looks like to you, Sam, because I don't think they're done. If they could get a really good player on cutdown day from another team that lets a good player go for salary cap purposes or competition, do you think that the Raiders have a much improved offensive line, and are they available maybe to add another veteran?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're counting on Linderbaum to be kind of an aircraft carrier type player to kind of bring up the rest of the group at this point. And that's feasible with a center because he's kind of the quarterback of the offensive line. He's making the calls. He's experienced. He can bring along a rookie quarterback like Mendoza if he's getting in there and developing on the field. But yeah, I think the things that they've done. Obviously, last year the struggles were paramount, but you're also taking into account that Colton Miller didn't really play all that much. Jackson Powers-Johnson didn't play all that much either. So those are 2 guys that are coming back and are guys that they have some confidence in. And then there are some, maybe some questions at right tackle and left guard, but they brought in a guy like Spencer Burford who has experience in playing in this Clint Kubiak system. Hopefully he can be a little bit more consistent than he was in San Francisco, but that's a guy that, has experience in the system. And then, DJ Glaze is a younger player that, they could still continue to develop. And even if he doesn't work out, like we've been seeing Trey Zune play right tackle in OTA's practices, it seems like they're going to play him all over the field, but it just from picking up on context clues, that could be a position where Zune could be fighting for starting spots when we come to the later stages of training camp. But yeah, I mean, I think this team, Spytek, it seems like he's, going to be aggressive where he can be. So if there is a premium available player that, becomes available on cut day or sometime in this offseason, I wouldn't put it past them to go out and make a move.
Wrapping up with Sam Warren. So, Sam, we both don't get paid to pick games for a living, and you as a journalist. But when you look at the powers of the AFC with Denver, the Chargers in the division, Mahomes back in Kansas City, the Ravens, and how good they've been. Buffalo, I picked them to win the last 2 out of 3 Super Bowls. They've come up short. What should expectations look like from afar? Because the team is vastly improved, and we saw the Patriots go from 4 wins to the Super Bowl. We saw Jaden Daniels a couple of years ago go from 4 wins to the NFC Championship game. In theory, the Raiders should be able to turn this around. I'm not talking the playoffs in year 1, but it better turn around in year 2 or year 3 because a lot of other teams in this league are doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what you're seeing with what they're trying to do with all these free agent signings combined with this strong rookie class. I think expectations shouldn't be, the playoffs. I mean, if for having the worst record and finishing with the first overall pick in this past season, playing a last place schedule, their schedule is really tough with all the teams in their division, getting aligned with the AFC East and the NFC West this year. I think they're playing 7 playoff teams or something like that throughout the season. So, I mean, it's a tough schedule for them. I think the big goal for them is to prove that they can be competitive within their division, picking up a Broncos, a Chargers, a Chiefs win here and there. I think is a big step for them to make this offseason because, I mean, this upcoming season, just because they haven't really been able to compete in the division this past couple of years, and it's been one of the best divisions in football. So to prove that you're not a cellar dweller and you can actually compete amongst the teams that you're competing for, divisional championships with, I think that should be the biggest goal for this Raiders team this upcoming season.
All right, Sam, tell everybody where they can find all your content, what you're doing, how often you're putting it out, and I'm looking forward to seeing you real soon here.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter /S at SamWarren83. Those are my handles. Also on TikTok, I post some video content over there. And then just stay tuned on The Athletic for all my written coverage, putting out a couple stories a week throughout this off season, and I'll be keeping everybody updated through OTAs and minicamp. So looking forward to being back out there on the field tomorrow.
Thank you, Sam. I'll see you out there. Appreciate you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, JT. Great to meet you.
Great to meet you, Sam Warren. Looking forward to talking to him more and more. I welcome anybody who covers this team and is doing it, and I could get them on the radio and give you better content. That's all I want to do is get the best insiders on this show who cover the team, and every year grow that. So every year we add a new insider or two. I'm sure Sam is going to be on all of our shows, if he's kind enough to have time to do it. Most of the insiders are able to do that, and I'm excited to see what he has. He's a Cuse guy. I love the Cuse guys. The voice of the Raiders is the Syracuse guy, Jason Horowitz. So I'm sure they'll get to know each other also, and it seems like he's a grinder. He's covering the team, and hopefully he has really good content coming up. 702-365-9200. Alex in Las Vegas. Thanks for starting me off and not shutting me out today with the Golden Knights call. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, hey, JT. Yeah, this team is really fun to watch, and if Raiders fans don't really watch hockey, I think this is a great team to watch as a casual just because of the pace of how they play and the effort they put in. And this team really does seem to have championship DNA, I feel. Like, look at Game 3. Game 3 was they come to the Fortress, right, and then immediately go down 3 goals. And it's like, oh, here we go. Here's the President's Cup team winner. They're gonna get back in this series, and then who knows? They immediately scored the next 3 goals in the second period, and you could just tell that the Avs were just dead. So this is fun to watch team. They're a champion. They're a champion team, and for a Raiders fan that wants to see winning, you can't be better aligned than this team. It's a good watch, and I was listening to talking about the Raiders schedule, and got me thinking if they can get to 6-6, right? 6-6. You got the bye week.
Yeah.
Nobody's got that crappy late bye week that at first we're complaining about. But hold on, 6-6. You get the late bye week. You rest up, and then who knows? Is Mahomes going to be great coming back from injury? Is Bo Nix going to be great coming back from injury? The Chargers look a little formidable, more than usual now, but the Chargers are still the Chargers, So hey, I don't know. I think there's a lot to be optimistic about. I think kind of watching the Golden Knights kind of gets you optimistic as a Raiders fan too.
Yeah, it should. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. I have the Raiders schedule in front of me, and the only way the Raiders are going to go 6-6 is they have to beat Miami. Not maybe. They have to beat Miami and the Saints. Have to. There's no other way around it. No other way around it. And then if you look at it's the toughest schedule I've seen, and this is my 29th season coming up. I've never seen an October with Kansas City, Patriots, Bills, and Rams. Never. I've seen every schedule. And believe me, the Raiders have been good, bad, average. I've never seen a schedule like that. So you better make sure you come out and you beat the Saints and the Dolphins. You don't split with the Saints and Dolphins. You got to win. You got to beat Cleveland. You got to beat Cleveland. You got to beat the Titans. You got to beat the Cardinals. There's wins on the schedule. The problem is there are wins on this schedule, and then there's a daunting, very difficult schedule mixed in. 702-365-9200 is the number. Hey, we're welcoming Flowing Tides, a new tavern group, to our show. Details to follow. Can't wait. A place where I've gone to have beverages in the past. The food is remarkably great. So many locations in Reno where we're on and throughout the valley. Wait till I tell you more about our new proud partner.
He's looking down the middle to the end zone. Caught Bowers. Back in the end zone in tight coverage. Touchdown Raiders. Brock Bowers was sandwiched between a defender and the end line and hauled it in for a 7-yard touchdown grab. His 7th of the season. And the Raiders are an extra point away from tying it up early in the second quarter.
Yes, that's Jason Horowitz on the call. We're going to move Gary Lawless. We're going to move him at 1 back a little bit. Obviously, something came up. We'll get Gary Lawless in a little bit. VInny Bonsignore joining us next hour as we continue. There are people in my chat who are on YouTube, at JT the Brick on YouTube, that wanted me to comment on Josh Jacobs and his situation, and I did a bunch of it last night. There, and the update on him today is he is out of jail as the investigation is ongoing. He has a very highly successful Las Vegas attorney that he used in the past. So Josh Jacobs was released from jail earlier today after his arrest. He was arrested on several domestic violence charges. The Brown County, Wisconsin District Attorney's Office announced that the investigation remains open and ongoing. Quote, after reviewing the available evidence in the case, the district attorney's office is not yet prepared to make a formal charging decision. So that's what happened. Quote, our office has requested additional investigation, and there is reason to believe that additional evidence may exist that would impact whether criminal charges are appropriate. Josh has played for the Raiders. He's now with the Packers, and he has an attorney here at this point, David Chesnoff, who, if you're in Vegas, everybody is familiar with David Chesnoff. And he wrote, quote, we are extremely pleased that Josh has been released from custody and that no criminal charges have been filed against him. As we previously stated, we encourage everyone to keep an open mind while the matter is fully reviewed. We remain confident that once all the evidence is gathered and evaluated, it will confirm that no charges should be brought against Josh in the future. So that's what it is. That's according to the court reports, the district attorney, and Josh Jacobs' attorney, David Chesnoff. All I'll say is what I say every chance, what I do. Innocent till proven guilty, and more important than that, don't ever put your hands on a woman. Under any circumstance, no matter what, period. Don't ever put your hands on a woman for no reason at all or for any reason, never. So we'll see how this plays out. His reputation and career is on the line with these accusations, and he's got an attorney who he's worked with in the past, and obviously things are changing as we speak and more to come. And when we have more to come, we'll let you know about it. Grimaldi's, 4 locations in town. The best pizza I've ever had. Home of the $50 Grimaldi's gift card. We'll be doing remotes from Grimaldi's. We'll have some summer pizza parties coming up. Some summer pie, as we like to say. I'm not going to be too far next month from the original Grimaldi's under the Brooklyn Bridge. Grimaldi's, the best pizza I've ever had. More VGK. Going to the Stanley Cup final next. Let's get rolling. Stanley Cup is here. We wait on Les Canadiens. Carolina. And the great Gary Lawless joins us, part of the broadcast team of radio and television, friend of the show. And as we begin, my friend, a quick housekeeping moment. I get off in an hour thinking of driving to City National. Can you confirm, is there new gear at City National, hats and shirts going to the Cup? What can you tell me?
Yes, they are bringing in new product, and I would imagine I got a Western Conference Championship hat last night. I imagine they'll be for sale to the public pretty soon, so great opportunity to update your VGK merch.
Absolutely. I've been saying for well over 2 months, as you know, as you're kind enough to give us some of your time. This is an Olympic all-star team. And I woke up this morning with everybody in shock. How could they beat Colorado? And I said, what are you talking about? Let's go player by player, all-star, all-star, first line to fourth line. Let's go goalie. Let's go everything here. I think the shock was that it was a sweep, not a shock that they matched up against Colorado and beat them. How do you see it?
Well, I will say this, and I have been saying this to friends of mine in the business for a while. Nobody realized how good the Vegas Golden Knights are. And I don't know why. And I guess why, Dan Duva borrows this great Mike Emmerich saying, history, not prophecy. And the regular season this year was the Golden Knights were underwhelming. They underachieved for a variety of reasons. But John Tortorella, they went 7-1, 7-0-1 under him the last 8 games of the regular season. And in the playoffs, they're 12-4. So, that's 19-4-1 over the last 24 games. They're the best team in hockey right now, the way they're playing. And one of my friends said this morning, Chris Johnson, the great hockey writer for the Athletic and TSN, I'm stealing this tip from him. He referred to the Golden Knights as a sleeping giant. And it's what they were. They were a sleeping giant. And then, Eichel, Marner, Stone, Hurdle, Theodore, McNabb, Hart, Dorofeev, Howden, Carlson. It just goes on and on and on. There's a ton of great players here. They weren't playing very well for a variety of reasons. Injury, Olympic fatigue, and to be perfectly frank, Bruce Cassidy and the players, they'd lost their way. They weren't on the same page anymore. So Kelly McCrimmon fired Bruce Cassidy and brought in John Tortorella, and it was almost like flicking a switch. It really was. They just completely changed on a dime, and now this team is a dominant force. They can score, they can check, they've got elite goaltending. They're on a roll. They are going to be a very tough out in the Stanley Cup final, whether it's Carolina or Montreal. As my dad used to say, when you were challenging to him to something, he used to say, "You better pack a lunch. It's going to take you all day to get rid of me."
Love it. Gary Lawless joins us. So with the respect we both have for Bruce Cassidy and the job and the way he instituted defense and the style of play, what could have possibly changed that much other than the chemistry of the head coach? What changed with film study, travel, meetings, getting the team together on an off day? What nugget can you give us or two on how Tortorella changed what the team was doing to get him to peak at the right time?
Well, it's not a secret. He told us right from the very beginning. So I need to remind these guys that how good they are. And I need to get them to start to believe in that again. Listen, Bruce is tactically one of the best coaches in the NHL. Probably the best, tactically. And his style of accountability is hard. It works. But at a certain point in time, when it's the same group of guys that have heard it again and again and again, it can become draining. And it did. And Tortorella took the exact opposite tact. He was positive. He lifted them up. And now they're confident. They've got they're committed to playing tactically the correct way. They're sacrificing. They're so close now. They can taste it. They're not going to deviate. And they're having fun. They like one another. They believe in one another. And they're playing for one another.
Gary Lawless, so when you looked into the eyes of the Colorado players, How shocking was this to them? Because someone who was really in the know for me, too, who I count on, said, hey, you guys better congratulate Minnesota, even though they lost, and the beating they put on them physically, and the physicality of the checking and what they did to really bang them up before the series. And maybe they weren't at their peak health-wise, but the lack of confidence they had at some points. They had the camera on McKinnon, who's one of my favorite players. He's an elite player, and he was sitting on the bench like he saw a ghost. What was that like to see the reaction from the Colorado players and coaching staff?
Well, they're the President's Cup champions. The President's Trophy champions. They had a season, and they just got swept. They were shocked. That's the best way to describe it. But long ago, I learned not to discount the Vegas Golden Knights. Like they're just Kelly McCrimmon and George McPhee have just put too many good players and people together. If you play the Golden Knights and you think that it's going to be easy and you're going to roll over them, that's your mistake. This is it's too good a team. Too good an organization, great players, great leadership. They're on a roll, JT, and it's a 9-year roll. This is the third time in the Stanley Cup. They have now won more playoff games and more playoff series than any other team since they joined the league in 17-18, and it's the third time in 9 years they're on the precipice. They lost the first time, they won the second time, and now we're going to find out the chapters have been written. All that remains is the ending.
All right, so what should we look forward to watching the rest of the series with the matchups? I know you're not, nor would I ask you, who do you want to play? Whoever comes out is going to be deserving. I'm just surprised. I'm not a gambler, but wow, Carolina's a heavy favorite, and they're only up one game. So for the Habs, they're going to empty out their entire gas tank to try to get back into this series. As fans of the Vegas Golden Knights, what should we be looking at going forward?
Well, I don't understand why the Canadians why they're playing the way they're playing. They're a dangerous offensive team. I think they had 12 shots last game, 12 the game before that. Like, they need to loosen up a little bit, and they need to be themselves. And if they lose being themselves, that's fine. But this style of play where they're trying to be careful and cautious, and it's robbing them of their greatest strength, which is their offensive ability. So to me, they need to open it up a little bit.
Thanks, my friend. Busy day for you. I know you have a lot of obligations. Thanks for a few minutes.
Hey, I really appreciate you having us. Thanks for everything.
You got it. Gary Lawless, great to have him on. I sent out that email last night to the Golden Knights around midnight. And some people say, don't send out emails at midnight. What are you talking about? As soon as you have an idea, you send out an email. Right? You don't text people at midnight. You can email people anytime you want. They don't look at their emails, and boom, I woke up this morning. I get an email from the Golden Knights. Absolutely. Gary's ready to go, and we're working on other people for you. Thanks to the Golden Knights for their support of our show and everything that we're doing here. So if you're a hockey fan, I'm really demanding better from you. I am. I'm demanding better from you. I'm demanding more from the hockey fans here in town. I know there are so many fans that aren't Golden Knight fans, but they're Shark fans, they're King fans. I'm trying to include everybody. I'm trying to get all hockey fans to talk about hockey. Is that hard? This is hockey. This is grown-ass men growing beards on skates, checking each other, a sport you grew up with and loved. I apologize for having to push your ass. It's the Stanley Cup. Let's go. Okay? I don't care if they're off. I'm going to be off in a couple of days. Let's go. Let's talk hockey when we have hockey. 702-365-9200. VInny Bonsignore coming up here in a little bit as we continue on. I think I went an hour without mentioning my Knicks. My Knicks, my son, my oldest son said, Dad, I don't want you talking about anything for the next 2 weeks other than the Knicks. I said, what? He goes, yeah, you're a Knicks fan. People know you as the Knicks, JT the Brick. You're a Knicks fan. Just talk Knicks. We're going to get our numbers up. So he's right. I'm going to be talking about the Knicks. Man, I'm a Golden Knight fan and a Knicks fan, and they both wanted sweeps, and they have like a week off. A week off? Clay, what do you think about having a week off? Is that good for VGK? I think it's got to be because they got older players and veterans who played in the Olympics and all. They need some time.
They can sit and wait. They can afford to do that, and then they can go and start planning how they can go and lock everybody down on whoever they're going to play next, because that's exactly what they did to Colorado.
Oh, they did to Colorado, man. Some of the Colorado fans were just, woo, I can't believe we lost. What do you mean you can't believe it? And that's what offends me on this topic. What offends me on this topic of Vegas winning is that people are shocked that Vegas is winning. What the hell are you shocked about? As Gary Lawless joined us and said, Marner, Stone, Carlson, Dorothea, McNabb, Hannafin, what are you shocked about? This isn't Snuffleupagus, the Utah Mammoth. This isn't the Anaheim Ducks. This isn't the Vancouver Canucks. How could you be shocked that a team that has all these iconic players is winning hockey games? Now, you could be shocked that they won in a sweep. Okay, but don't be shocked that they won. And I'm going down the same road with the Knicks. The Knicks are killing everybody, destroying everybody. People are shocked. What could you be shocked by if the Knicks beat Oklahoma City or the Knicks beat the Spurs? Little De'Aaron Fox and Castle and some of the players. Well, look, Wembanyama is good. Wembanyama is not better than Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns yet. I mean, he's the defensive player of the year. He's a very good player. But we're not talking about Wemby in his 7th year when he's won 3 MVPs in a row. You wouldn't be shocked. Would you be shocked if the Knicks beat Oklahoma City? Well, if you are, then you haven't been watching the Knicks. Sometimes in sports, it's about peaking at the right time. And that's what I'm seeing with everything that's going on. That's what I'm seeing with everything that is going on, is that if you're peaking at the right time, then it shouldn't be a shock to anybody. But, I saw one of these tweets, Clay, that I was like, woo, I don't know if I bookmarked it, if I have it, but this is a team, the Vegas Golden Knights, that lost a lot of games. And if they were in the Eastern Conference, forget about it. 6 teams had this record, didn't make the playoffs. So we can say, wow, Vegas didn't play well. And Gary Lawless brilliantly said, for whatever reason, it could have been Olympic fatigue, everything that was happening. They did not play well in the regular season.
Yeah, the message got stale. That happens, even with the great coaches like Bruce Cassidy. And you can't deny that Tortorella's been able to find that nuance to actually push them a little further. However, their record against the East is not very good. And they're not the only ones. A lot of Western teams don't play well against the East. So this is going to be one of those great challenges for the organization to see, can you compete with what the power from the East provides?
Yeah, a lot of times as a Yankee fan, the Yankees are losing to some of the worst teams in baseball. I'm like, how could you get shut out in the Bronx 2-0 against a crappy team? What happens? You just don't play well. Do you remember, Clay, at the point of the year, and I could bring it up, but they were just every game they played was overtime. Mm-hmm. But they were getting a point. Mm-hmm. Where they were losing in overtime, or if they were winning, they were getting 2 points. And I said, man, all those overtime games are going to wear them out. That's just another half a period that they're playing, even if it gets to a shootout. That was a lot of wear and tear on the team, I think.
Those were games in which they had a lead but lost it in the third period, and then they roll into overtime. So you have the attrition of not being able to close out a game and then rolling into an overtime where you're scared for your life and see if you can pull this thing out or not. So there was some wear and tear that really was very uncommon for this team.
A big topic I want to just change gears on quickly. Maybe I'll bring it up with VInny Bonsignore. Stan Kroenke, who owns the Avalanche and a lot of other great teams, the Nuggets, he moved the Rams to SoFi Stadium without any public money. This is a huge Raider topic. Do you know why the Raiders lost L.A. and Carson? It's because Stan Kroenke came in at the last second and said, oh, I got this. I'm going to build SoFi. I got it. And everyone's like, whoa, 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 whoa. The Raiders and the Chargers are moving. No, I will build SoFi, and I will do it with my own money. Not so fast, my friends. Reports are that Stan Kroenke now wants $400 million from Inglewood. Now, you want a topic that I like? Inglewood's got no money. Like none. Have you been to Inglewood? Inglewood in the hood, always up to no good. Have you ever been to Inglewood? I lived in L.A. for 10 years. You wouldn't go to Inglewood under any circumstance other than to go to a sporting event and immediately leave. Like immediately look where you parked your car and leave. You think Inglewood's got $400 million? Have you been paying attention to L.A. politics? Have you been paying attention to the L.A. mayoral race? You think Inglewood, California, that's like saying Oakland, California wants $400 million to keep the Raiders or the Warriors. What the hell are we doing here? Inglewood doesn't have a penny. Oh, there they do, JT. No, they don't have nothing. All Inglewood did was hope that, the Clippers moved in and built the Intuit Dome. Kroenke moved in and built SoFi, Hollywood Park. There's a bunch of cool things in Inglewood. But as I repeat, no one wants to go to Inglewood and stay. No one wants to go to Inglewood and then go, oh, wow, I just left the game. Let's go get a steak. Let's go to, the MGM, or let's go to Barry's Steakhouse at Circa, or let's go to, get this, the Wynn and Encore or the Bellagio. No one wants to do anything in Inglewood. Have you lost your mind? So Stan Kroenke wants $400 million from Inglewood. That's like saying the Raiders or the A's won $400 million from Oakland. Oakland doesn't have a penny for sports. A penny. Now, they should have, because it's a crow's flight to Sand Hill Road in Silicon Valley. It's right over the bridge from San Francisco. Beautiful area in the East Bay. Some of the nicest homes I've ever been to. Piedmont overlooking beautiful. I've been saying this my entire career. And it's not personal. Don't ever count on politicians if you're a sports fan. They get voted out of office every 2 to 4 years. Most of them suck. They have no business background. They don't care about your team. Some of them are robber barons. They're crooked. And you know this. So don't ever say, I want my team to stay because the politicians are going to help us. Politicians, there's two politicians. Politicians that want to help the community and help others and education and make people's lives better. And then there are corrupt politicians who know nothing about sports. Go to all the failed cities in America when it comes to sports, and you'll find politicians who have been voted out of office who probably stole some money along the way. And you wonder why Vegas works? It doesn't matter if we have Democrats, Republicans, independents. I'm not talking party line. I'm not. But in Vegas, we do one thing better than everybody else. Construction. We build casinos. Have you seen the new Hard Rock guitar? Have you seen that? Have you seen our roadways, the 215 and the expansion going on? When we decide in Vegas that we want to build something, the politicians go, yes, just do it. Well, just do it. You want to build an arena or a stadium or a casino? Of course, do it. We support you because it's going to provide jobs. $400 million from Inglewood. I don't think I laughed as hard as I've laughed when I saw that today. Stan Kroenke, one of the richest sports owners to ever live, now wants some money. I never have a problem in giving billionaires money for stadiums. I don't, because that's how this works. That's how the shell game works. Many of these billionaires don't want to pour the concrete, don't want to lay the infrastructure. It's not their job. Their job is to own the team. Where does it say in the bylaws of the NBA, MLB, where does it say in the bylaws of the NFL that if you own a team, you have to build the stadium? You don't have to build the stadium. You have to pay for the team. You have to pay the players, the salaries. You got to build the headquarters. You don't have to build the stadium. It's an appreciable asset. You don't have to pour concrete. That might not be your business model. But, man, Stan Kroenke wants to get paid. As the great philosopher Randy Moss once said, straight cash homie. Stan Kroenke wants some money back because he built SoFi and they're bringing Super Bowls, the World Cup, and some of the biggest events, the Olympics. And he's like, yeah, it's time to pay me. Even though I have all the money in the world, I want some of my money back. Is it fair or not? I'd like your opinion. 702-365-9200. Coming up next, VInny Bonsignore will join us from the California Post. I'm going to ask Vinny about this and what he thinks about Stan Kroenke wanting some money here, because you can arguably say today the Rams could be one of the best run organizations in all of sports, and they're doing a really nice job building that brand. We got to play the Rams this year at Allegiant Stadium. Don't sell your tickets to Rams fans. We have more Raider fans in L.A. than Ram fans have in L.A. Don't sell your Las Vegas tickets to L.A. Ram fans. Brought to you by Boyd Gaming, 10 properties locally, the local casino partner of the Raiders.
Left at the 40, into the secondary 30. Nobody's going to catch him. Down the middle of the field, Genty at the 5. Touchdown, Raiders. Deuces, goodbye for the second time in the ballgame. This one from 51 yards. And with 5:24 to go, the Raiders on the back of the 6th overall pick. Not done yet.
All right, we want to hear more highlights. We want to hear more highlights this year of great moments for the Raiders, and it's going to be really important that this offensive line gets rolling and the offensive line is able to establish the run, and then the Raiders will have multiple chances, more chances to attack. So they'll be able to do that, and they'll be able to go out there, and on 3rd and 4, if they hand the ball off to Ashton Genty for a 6-yard gain instead of throwing it and having it deflected at the line of scrimmage, the Raiders get a fresh set of downs. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the secret to how the Raiders could be really good this year. What are they going to do to stay on the football field on offense? Last year was an unmitigated disaster. VInny Bonsignore joins us from the California Post. You know, Vinny, I'm a pretty simple guy. You stay on the field, you win the time of possession, you move the chains, you give the defense some rest. Isn't that all predicated with a much improved offensive line, hopefully?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And you know what's interesting is if you go back this time last year, JT, the Seattle Seahawks were coming off a season in which their offensive line, per Pro Football Focus, was ranked the 32nd offensive line coming off the 2024 season, right? So Clint Kubiak comes in. He brings in a new offensive line coach, John Benton, and Rick Dennison is on his staff, guys that he brought with him as the new offensive coordinator in Seattle. Assistant coaches that he had been working with, had a familiarity with. If you look at where Seattle finished last season in Pro Football Focus's rankings of the offensive line, they went all the way from 32nd, which was the worst in the league in 2024, to 15th in 2026. They brought in Gray Zabel, a first-round pick, but they didn't do a whole lot of wholesale changes outside of that big move. I think they brought in another center, but it was largely the same cast. Gray made a big difference.
Have some fun, but always. Okay, go ahead, Vinny.
Stabilizing the guard position, but the point is better coaching. One significant personnel improvement was the impetus for an entire turnaround in Seattle to go from worst to middle of the pack, and that was part of the difference in them, winning the Super Bowl, being able to solidify the offensive line, run the ball, control the ball, just do things exactly how you were saying it, and then also let their defense be able to stay off the field, be fresh, all of those things that make winning football teams. And so you fast forwarded this year, outside of John Benton, you have Clint Kubiak, you have Rick Dennison, you now have Tyler Linderbaum at center, you're getting back Colton Miller, you have a lot of draft picks that the Raiders feel really good about in terms of the young personnel. Who's to say, and I'm not going to say that they're going to go from 32nd to 15th this year, but who's to say that they're not going to be able to make a similar, big turnaround along the offensive line? And if that does happen, and let's just say they do go from 32nd to 16th or 15th, if they are able to do that, I'm going to guarantee that they're going to be knocking on the door of the playoffs. If they can make that kind of a dramatic turnaround in the offensive line. And we have recent history produced by the coach that's here now in Las Vegas as the head coach, and an offensive line coach that was there in Seattle with him last year. The offensive coordinator was there with him last year. There's reasons to be at least optimistic that there's going to be big improvements on the offensive line.
VInny Bonsignore joins us. That's incredible content. There are jobs on the line. personnel department, players, coaches, that has to improve this offensive line. It was a disaster. And Pete Carroll came in, and Pete Carroll wanted it to be well. So did Chip Kelly. Even Brendan Carroll, who did a terrible job, all wanted this offensive line to be better. But there was a personnel problem and a health problem of Colton Miller not being available, not playing the rookies and the offensive linemen that should have got more of a look when the team was going south so early. So when we do get to training camp, Vinny, and we're out there and we see these battles on the offensive line, I think it's going to be critical to see what happens day to day and what the coaches say about the depth chart and who's winning these battles.
Yeah, no question. And I'm really looking at those joint practices in Houston. It was the second week of the preseason, because you're going to be practicing. There's probably going to be 100 first-team reps again, good on good, between the Raiders' first-team offense and Houston's first-team defense. You're going to get a really good idea of where that offensive line is playing and practicing against arguably the best defensive line in the NFL. This isn't just a good offensive or defensive line that Houston has. That's a Super Bowl caliber defense, and it starts with their Super Bowl caliber defensive line. So it's going to be a rough and tumble couple of days in Houston, but it's going to be a tremendous litmus test or measuring stick for where that Raiders offensive line is. And, you could also say that it's going to be a great litmus test and measuring stick for Fernando Mendoza, for Kirk Cousins, for the offense in general. But I'll be paying attention specifically to how that offensive line holds up. And if they're holding up reasonably well, then it's further optimism that they're going to be able to carry that into the offseason and just be better, a better offensive line, which I expect them to be. The question is, how much better can they be in 1 year, going from what they had last year, including the coaches, to what they have now?
VInny Bonsignore from the California Post. I've been dying to ask you about this when it comes to the depth at wide receiver. What are your concerns about the fact that we're going to get split reps, even though Cousins looks to be the starter going into camp, so he'll get more? How does that affect Jalen Naylor, Jack Bash, the rest of the receivers along the way there that are going to be going with? We all know the elephants in the room. That Cousins is probably going to get the job unless Mendoza outperforms him. Well, the only way I see Mendoza outperforming Cousins is if the receivers are making all the plays that Mendoza's making, and maybe the ball's not coming in ideally perfectly from Cousins. How are the receivers going to play a role in the decision on who's going to start?
Yeah, and here's the thing. What's interesting about that? Mendoza and Kirk play kind of similar games, so I don't know how much difference it's going to look in terms of the wide receivers and their connections. They're very similar in their accuracy. They're very similar in their decision making and getting the ball out. Fernando's just considerably bigger, than Kirk Cousins is from a physical standpoint. So I don't know that that's going to be make a massive difference. I think from Fernando's perspective, how well are you picking up the offense? What's your how do your fundamentals and technique look operating out of center, which is going to be almost entirely new for him? What's his footwork look like? How does he handle operating out of a huddle? And it's those types of things, and I don't know that he has to significantly outplay Kirk Cousins in training camp to win the job. I think if it's close, if it was my decision, I'm going with Fernando Mendoza, because I look at 2026 as such a development year for the Raiders, including their quarterback, that I would weigh more heavily development of Fernando Mendoza over, if Kirk Cousins gives them gives what the coaches feel a slight advantage in terms of winning games. I would trade that for the value of the development that you could pour into Fernando Mendoza. So this way, by the end of this season and going into next season, Fernando Mendoza is going to have a lot of game experience under his belt, a lot of development under his belt, to really help this team turn a corner in 2027.
Wrapping it up with Vinny. So I want to spend the rest of our time pretty much on one topic about Stan Kroenke looking for money out of Inglewood, which I kind of laugh, because I know how much money Inglewood has and doesn't have, and just like I knew how much money Oakland didn't have and what they claimed they wanted to do until their politicians were lying through their mouths. Interesting, because you've covered Kroenke and you've seen the success, and we know that he doesn't need the money, but he could deserve the money because the Olympics are there, the World Cup. He built SoFi Stadium. What does this story have to offer to everyone else who wonders what locally a community should kick in to have something that could be so vibrant to their community, like a stadium, a team, and all these events coming in globally?
Yeah, you could say, oh, well, Stan Kroenke doesn't need the money. It's not about needing the money whatsoever. It's money that the Rams and Stan Kroenke absolutely believe he is owed. Remember, he paid for that whole project in Inglewood, with a little bit of help from the NFL, and that he had to repay. And the Chargers did what they were able to do. But when you look at the city of Inglewood, all right. So the city of Inglewood is using a court order that really had nothing to do with the deal between the Rams and Inglewood to get out of paying this $400 million. Okay. And so, but if you look at the city of Inglewood and the Mayor James Butts, who I know very well. He has the Forum. He helped revitalize the Forum, right? He helped bring the Rams and SoFi Stadium. He also was a big part, obviously, of Ballmer and the Clippers building an arena in Inglewood, right across the street from SoFi Stadium. All three of those entities now are involved in a lawsuit with Inglewood. The Forum, the Clippers and their arena, and the Rams. So you could call that a coincidence. I don't necessarily believe in coincidences, so I think that when the dust settles and when it's all said and done, Stan Kroenke and the Rams are going to get the money that they believe that they are owed. That it feels like Inglewood is trying to back out of, using a court order that it really had nothing to do with their deal with the Rams to kind of get out of, to conveniently get out of paying the money that they owe Stan Kroenke.
All right, Vinny, last one. I'm going to hold you to this one. As a fan and covering the Lakers the way you've covered the Lakers as a journalist, if LeBron was playing for Cleveland last week against my Knicks, Cleveland wouldn't have got swept. They would have won game one easily. They would have won a game at home. The Knicks would have been pushed maybe to 6. And LeBron started there. He's a legend there. He won a championship there. But they have no money for him. And because James Harden's owed like $43 million on a player option, so they'd have to do a sign and trade. I think I saw the tweet you said to one of your listeners that if it's going to happen, it's got to be a sign and trade. Do you see LeBron wanting to get to Cleveland or just kick back in L.A., watch the Lakers play out? He's not going to win in L.A. with one more year left, just like I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to win with one more year left in Pittsburgh. But, hey, he's made a ton of money. He's got 4 rings. Go out in L.A. and make it easy.
Yeah, and, with the Lakers, it's hard to gauge what happened last year because they didn't have the best, arguably a top 3 player in the entire world in Doncic in the playoffs. That was a huge loss. I mean, we can't sit here and underestimate that. I don't know if the Lakers in their heart of hearts really even want LeBron James back. I think that they're envisioning their future without him and building around Luka. But it might come to that, how do you say no to LeBron, especially if they strike out on some other things. So I would say that it's 50-50 that he's back. I would think in his heart of hearts he probably does want to go back to Cleveland, but you just outlined the difficulties it would be with the second apron and getting under where they need to get under, and you got the James Harden contract that you're talking about. It can happen. You'd have to you'd have to trade a few players that are key players for the Cleveland Cavaliers to get under that apron in order to facilitate a trade. Does Cleveland want to do that? Are the players that they're going to be giving up? Is there a market for them? How does that all work out? So it's extremely complicated, but I know this. Usually in these situations where there's a will, there's a way. If LeBron really wants to go to Cleveland and Cleveland really wants him, they would figure out a way to make it happen. It's not impossible.
Thank you, Vinny. Let's thank your proud partners, and thanks for hosting for me last week.
Yeah, absolutely, and thank you for that opportunity. Sal'sMexicanRestaurant.com. If you're not in California Central Valley, go to Sal'sMexicanRestaurant.com. Order great food, get it delivered wherever you are, and have your next party, your next tailgate, your next family get-together set up.
Take care, Vinny. Thank you so much.
All right, you too.
That Sal's Mexican food sounds great right now, man. Oh, that sounds great. Order and get it delivered. Thanks to VInny Bonsignore. Thanks to the bricklayers. Thanks to everybody. Please hit like and subscribe. Like what we're doing, please subscribe on YouTube at JT the Brick on YouTube. There's going to be a lot of content. Actually, I'm sitting down with both of my sons tonight because I'm not bringing my laptop when I go to New York later next week, going to see Mom and Dad, but I'm bringing my tablet, and I want to know how to broadcast, Clay, from my tablet. Remember we were talking about radio going away?
Yeah.
There'll be no more radio 10 years. So my sons
tablet
today are going to show me how to broadcast a little bit, like 10 minutes or 15 minutes. If there's breaking news and my Knicks win the title and I'm going to be off, I got to be able to go live and go nuts on my Knicks. So we're going to do that tonight. My son's coming back from a trip of a lifetime. My wife's coming back from Florida. I'm coming back from Maui. So our family's going to get together tonight. No night show tonight, so we'll just kick back. I'll wrap it up on the other side as we continue. Whenever I'm talking about the economy of Vegas and stadiums and arenas, I'm talking about Tommy White and the local 872. They build this city on time and on budget. Never heard Tommy White ever complain, we can't do this, we can't do that. Oh, no, we won't be able to do it. No, they get it done. That's why this city is exploding and has become the sports and entertainment capital of the world, led by the local 872, proud partners of our show here on Raider Nation Radio. Final thoughts on the other side. Hockey game tonight. Let's go Habs. I'd like to see the Canadians extend that series with Carolina as we continue here on the flagship of the Raiders, Raider Nation Radio.
Great job in that room, but two really competitive guys. Been really pleased with their work ethic. Aiden has been phenomenal. Can't say enough great things about him.
There he is, Coach Kubiak, JT. I'm back with you. Q's coming up next. Always tune in to Q. Big show coming up as always. Thanks to Clay Baker. Sam Warren for the first time. He was really good for us. Appreciate that. VInny Bonsignore in his weekly spot. And Gary Lawless. That was great to hear from him coming off Vegas, going to the Stanley Cup final. He had a busy night last night. Thanks to him and the Vegas Golden Knights for making time. Speaking of thank yous, I want to thank Jared Justice. Today's his last day here working for us at Lotus Broadcasting. He's been tremendous to work with. He's like a hybrid. He's a guy who can do everything. He can run the board. He can produce. He could put out fires. He could do a lot of technical stuff. He's helped us out multiple times in this day part, running the show and doing great things. He's heading to Jacksonville with the Jaguars side of it, and I know that market really well because my in-laws live there. My wife just got back last night from that area of the country, and he's going to do great there. So from time to time, many times you meet great people in radio. They go on to other opportunities, and I always wish them well, especially those who've worked with us and have put in a lot of time and only helped others around him, Clay. So we wish him well, and we hope he goes on to some great things, and I'm sure we'll see him down the road.
Yeah, the Jaguars Radio Network gets a real gem there, and that's an interesting team to cover because I wonder how many London trips he'll be taking along with that.
I've said that. They're doing a complete rehab to their stadium, and they're going to be playing in Orlando. And I've always said to Shad Khan, I don't care what anybody tells me. He's not interested in Jacksonville. He will move this team to London. The second Goodell says London's open for a move, he will go. I don't care what they do to that stadium. They could add every bell and whistle. They can put in a new deck. He will go because it's working in London, and they're not leaving London forever. But the Jaguars, they got a good fan base. Duval's the largest county in America. They got a lot of fans there, and we meet up with the Jaguars, Clay, every couple of years. They show up on the schedule.
Yeah, there's always that showdown between the Jags and the Raiders. And, think about, like, that international thought of, like, you're constantly expanding the market. And Jacksonville, they've tried to make it go there. But this new stadium, it seems like a little bit too little too late.
Yeah.
Because Khan has already put his imprint internationally.
He has, but I think that he realizes that he's got to stay in Jacksonville for quite some time, and they need a better experience there. Look at all these stadiums that are getting built now. Buffalo, Highmark Stadium, that's coming online. You got Nashville getting a Super Bowl. Nashville getting the Super Bowl because they're building a stadium. Build it and they will come. And Allegiant Stadium's got the BTS Army again tonight. So I got buddies who work for the Raiders who part of their job is not just the Raiders. They sell suites and they do stuff at Allegiant Stadium. You won't believe how much money this band makes. I mean, I know bands make money. Morgan Wallen, right? AC/DC. No, BTS. The merch stretches from around Allegiant Stadium past In-N-Out Burger to where those hotels are. You know that media lot where they put some people from time to time out there? There are people waiting in line. They're selling millions of dollars of T-shirts for that show, and I guess they have 2 more nights.
Yeah, it's great. And do you think, like, my friends who work in the food and beverage industry inside Allegiant, they're like, the place is absolutely packed. It's loud. We get no business because nobody's drinking. These are not drinkers. These are not hell raisers. But they're having their own fun. And they're buying tons of merchandise, which really is the sweetest plum.
Well, it's interesting when you see a certain fan base in any sport or concerts where they don't want to drink at a concert or a game. It's very rare. You know, a big part of going to a sporting event is getting adult beverages, which I believe should exist. I mean, we have some people there that like cut off beer sales after the 6th inning. No, because the drunk down the road who can't handle a beer at the 7th doesn't mean I can't have a beer in the 7th inning. I'm a responsible adult. But you let these people drink, and we don't have to worry about that with the BTS Army. You go to a Dodger game in the 8th inning, man. Woo! Oh, boy. You go to a Padre game when they're playing the Dodgers in San Diego around the 7th inning, and they start shutting off those taps. Oh, it gets loud.
Yeah, it gets very protective. And even at Wrigley Field, which is very friendly and loving, they'll sell old-style beer up until the 8th inning up in the stands. You know, the vendors are kind of on their own, and that's a whole different party and atmosphere all of itself. You don't even know who won the game by the thing is over.
How about when I want to go get 2 vodka sodas doubles at the T-Mobile for the Golden Knights in between periods and then a beer for someone? Oh, yeah. And they're like, yeah, that'll be $103.
That's like that night
really?
at Maroon.
I'm like, really? That much?
Yeah.
How much?
Yeah.
Well, you wanted doubles. Yeah, because I don't want to wait in line again.
Hey, those doubles aren't open pour either. Those are from the gun, 1 ounce each.
God. Let's get back to Old Vegas, please. Have a great day, everybody. No night show tonight. Please check out everything we're doing here on YouTube at JT The Brick. If you miss any portion of the show, it's at LV Sports Network. We have a brand new YouTube channel here for Raider Nation Radio. You should all be signed up for, like I am. That's about it. Q's coming up next. We'll have a great show for you. We'll see you back here tomorrow.